even aware of it. And that's
Oh, hey, look, fuck.
What kind of an example are we setting?
Oh
The
my
problem
god,
with
you
America
win.
is that
I just
because
got
of
Pega Pone.
imperialism, we are
I hope like
literally
watching
teaching
us
the
be
rest of the world
boomers with
how to think, what to
technology is
wear.
like
The Kardashians are
half of the appeal of this show.
I don't know about all that, but yeah, sure.
We're the two
figured
oldest
out.
Twitch streamers
Well,
in the
welcome.
market.
No, I don't, but we're not though. That's what's pathetic.
I'm 72 years old. I don't know about you, Elliot. I just take really good care of my skin.
Well, yeah.
Neutrogena.
Anyways, no comment. All right, here we go. We were vibing. We got to replay the Curtis Mayfield thing just a little bit. No, okay. Well, we were vibing to, what was his name? Delvin Lamar. What Delvin? Yeah, Delvin Lamar. And it looked like a trio. It looked like him on organ. I didn't see a bass player. I saw a guitar,
No, it was
drums, and
it's
organ.
the Delvin Lamar organ trio, and then
And they were killing it, man. Doing
Okay,
a little
okay.
move on up.
All right. How you guys are doing
we'll just
today?
go straight to it.
Okay.
All right. Delvon Lamar Organ Trio, a.k.a. D-Lo 3.
There we go.
Man, I picked the
we're
timestamp
gonna
on
warm
that
up
for
with
like
some music
almost
for you.
perfectly.
We're going to play a tune. This is going to be familiar
okay.
to...
Let's see if
Most of
I'm
you
gonna
guys.
chat us right now. Let's see if it pops up.
Dude, Elliot's on stream, chatting himself on stream. Enki.
I think that was coming out of my phone.
Somehow we still only have one viewer, even though Elliot is watching us.
So I must be the I don't know. Well, I'm not technically watching because my phone is clicked off now.
Ah, okay.
So I think I bumped this up. See, this is what we were vibing to. Well, you enjoy that. I'm gonna go have a therapeutic sip of my beer real quick.
Just a small one. I think I'm good with the short elevation, so.
And I'm back. Can you believe that nonsense? How fucking long did it take us to figure this out? And we're already getting shit all over the fucking thing. I think it was Ash or something. It was just on the keyboard. No big deal. Not a big deal. But these guys are killing it, man. As we were saying before, you can't go wrong with Curtis Mayfield. I love the random guy in the back there.
Don't you know they're playing music in there? Look, honey, he's really getting it on the drums.
And he's rocking a Tabasco t-shirt. I'm just like, word, all right. And it's a sick jacket too. He's got on. I don't think of that. I don't think of that pattern. Much needed musical interlude after all the drama to get the audio set. It was like an hour. I mean, actually, really only like an hour and a half of annoyance. But anyways,
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure we were actually recording and that I didn't fuck that up too. 'Cause Lord knows.
this is a team fuck up. Don't worry. I'll own it too. I'll own it too. It wasn't just your fault. You guys kill it, though, man. I wonder what kind of organ he's playing there. I wonder probably like a Hammond or something. It's always like a Hammond B3.
I just don't like the ambidexterity that it takes to play organ. Like he's playing the bass line with his like, right foot and he's modulating the sound with his left. Like, oh my god.
Or vice versa. I think he's playing. Or no, yeah, you're right. Yeah, yeah, that's some interesting stuff. You got funky little organs that Lowry debut that had out the jam room at the old place. You get down with that thing when you hit those pedals with the bass notes. I would give you a nice little rumble.
The whole room.
And hit you in the guts a little bit. It's not too shabby. These guys are killing it, man. I love the pout on the guitar in his face.
He's doing
that
the
concentrated look.
He's doing the thing that rhythm guitarists can do when like somebody's soloing for that long. he's just like doing little minor like time things,
Saying,
and he's just like trying to make it fun for himself too. Still,
but he's still keeping it. He's keeping it funky. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? He's holding down the rhythm, but still throwing those little licks in there.
sometimes I wonder if like guys who like seem to improvise a little bit more like this, like you see their looks on their faces, like obviously these dudes play together a ton, but like
Oh yeah, they're
Sometime-
well practiced.
sometimes you wonder if they're like come on, man. Really like the pout is like, bro, like,
Nah, I think they're all feeling it, man. I mean, like in this case, maybe I don't know. I could be wrong, but
I think you're right. I think
not
you're
saying that doesn't happen. That happens all the time. But you know, dude, we need like better mic stands too, because these things like they don't like that little height adjusted thing. It does not like doesn't. I don't know. Anyways, there we go. This is like very true to the original too. Alright. I like how I texted the link to like 10 people. We have like 1 viewer.
Would you get that on stream?
I don't give a fuck.
God, fake it till you make
I
it.
ain't got no shame in my game. Everybody can see right there. We got 1 viewer.
You're here in a vibe.
I'm cool with it. I don't give a fuck. I'm having a good time. I mean, like with 0 viewers or 1 million viewers, I'm having a good time. Who could give? I mean, yeah. All right, let's see what else we got. But yeah, there's some good guys. Delvin Lamar, over trio, getting some good music stuff.
Legion of Frogs.
Pepe's is what we were saying earlier when we were on mute. So yeah, I didn't catch that the first time I saw this. You sent me this link. You texted it to me. This is what's his name? Hassan Piker.
Yeah, Piker.
Hassan Piker. He's Cenk Uygur, the guy from
The Young Turks. Yeah.
That's his uncle.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I was like, oh weird.
He started off with Young Turks too.
Yeah, I remember that.
He decided to become an incel and be a Twitch streamer.
An incel?
No, I'm joking. It's like a continual joke amongst this community right now of like he's just degraded as a person since being involved with Twitch. Like there's a picture of him like last week hugging a giant like anime body pillow like of an anime maid, and then they're like one of the pictures of him in the background, and it's like Hassan in 2019, Hassan in 2020.
Hey, it's been a rough year, all right? It's been a rough year.
I'm here to talk to you today about music, art, fashion, one of the greatest problems that our generations are facing. The biggest scourge that affects our society. Against all of the cultural and social progress we've seen is the battle against intellectual thought. Are you guys comfortable with that? This is a war against critical thinking, a battle against intellectualism. This is a war against rational behavior. And we're not even aware of it. And that's terrifying. Whew. What kind of an example are we setting? The problem with America is that because of cultural imperialism, we are literally teaching the rest of the world how to think, what to wear. The Kardashians are lying to you. Culture used to be the backbone of the resistance. All it seeks to do is sedate the masses. Culture now seeks to appeal to our primal urges, our base needs. We're now in the age of mediocrity. You can bring about the positive change you want to see in this world, because the revolution will not be televised. Only you can bring about the revolution by taking it to the streets. Keep resisting.
You fucking idiots. You absolute fucking morons. God damn it, I hate you so much when you do this shit, chat. I hate it so fucking much. You're like 12 years old. You fucking fuck! Fuck! Are you fucking brain dead?
So like when I first watched it, I was like, "What is with the frogs?" now I get it. It's the Pepe reference. Okay,
yeah, so it's like about
get
like
it.
yeah.
I was like, "Is this like?" I was like, "What is this bizarre fan art?"
Sam Cedar went off on Shabiba why he'll wear a yarmulke but not a mask.
He's pretty entertaining, man. He's got way more followers than us. It's just gonna be a running joke, dude. Nobody's watching.
Dude, who is this? Who the fuck is this?
I don't know. With the animator?
No, who he's
Or-
doing next. Oh, why do I need to see?
No. Oh, you really want to see that? Okay.
I've
fine.
never seen anything else by this guy.
Let's
Oh my
check
god,
it
it's 7 minutes. I don't know if I can hang for this whole thing. We'll see.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, if he's a Hassan Piker fan, then he's probably going to be, obviously
The
more on
MAGA zombies, dude.
More on the progressive edge.
There's literally MAGA. I do not regret this. These are bad. These are enemies from like Bloodborne and shit. Like these are like Cthulhu
Video
monsters. Like literally embodiments of death from Dark Souls. Like
That's a deep dig right there. Deep dive. Those fingernails,
My
dude.
congratulations to you.
This is probably one of the greatest victories for the people of America since Andrew Jackson.
As I stand before you today, I see the greatest president in history. Of course he is. He was chosen by God.
Happy birthday, Dad. I love you very much.
And I can tell you that emphatically. He's a man that does not lose. I mean, everything he touches turns to gold. He does not lose. And he's literally saved Christianity. I mean, there's a full
I like that background track.
this country by
It's
the other
time
side.
to make America safe again. It's time to make America.
I gotta say, it's the
one
animation.
again.
It's impressive, but also a little stiff in some ways.
I think it's supposed to be though.
Is
I
it?
feel like
Yeah,
he's like
okay.
trying to make them seem creepy.
Yeah, it
Well,
does.
obviously with like the faces.
Yeah. Where is this going?
I don't know. We can stop this whenever you want though.
Well, now we're here. I'm
Yeah, I know, we're
invested.
committed,
I'm
right?
Committed. I'm curious to see where it goes. Although, I mean, like, this clown doesn't need any more airtime. Oh no, really?
Yeah.
This is where it went? That's a centipede meme, right?
I have no idea.
Yeah. Alright. Anyways.
Okay. Oh, we went to another dimension.
Low-key turtle reference there.
Donald Trump, you have failed to secure the presidency. On top of that, you have committed a terrible sin. As president, you can put kids in cages, you can bomb weddings and hospitals, you can kill millions in war and starve whole nations with sanctions. However, a president cannot ever jeopardize the ruling class of this glorious empire. Your disgraceful dereliction of duty, your moronic insurrection, nearly cost us everything. But otherwise you did a pretty good job, so we will let that one slide. Now, Donald, you have a decision to make. Will you sacrifice your beloved followers for one more chance at power?
As if he has to think about it.
And now it's our time. We must sacrifice together because we are all in this together and we'll come through together.
At last the promised time is here.
This is hilarious.
Your lives will feed a child of darkness and usher in our new age. The age of darkness.
He likes that graphic. Pink beanie. This is like some this is like Goya-esque. Remember like Renaissance era painter who 1700s I think, who did all like the giants eating bodies and shit.
It's really memey, but you know, sometimes I think it's really important to just subconsciously.
We're just a few days to go. Violence sought to shake the Capitol's very foundation. We come together as one nation.
Sorry, I want to cut you off, but I didn't want
We
to
can
miss it.
see each other not as adversaries, but as neighbors. We can join forces, stop the shouting, and lower the temperature. For without unity, there is no
The guy from
peace,
Hitman.
no nation, only a state of chaos. And we must meet this moment as the United States of America.
This guy's hilarious.
President Biden. Kamala Harris. Behold our new mommy and daddy.
What kind of drugs is this guy, is this animator doing? Because they seem to be pretty good. Oh man, this is so bizarre.
Oh god, where are we going now? Where are we going now?
He's like
Another
twist on
turn.
twist.
Another
on
turn.
twist.
Another turn.
Bernie. I'm dying. This is oh, that was worth the rabbit hole. I mean, we gotta talk about this or something.
Do one more. This one's short.
I'm dying. I'm fucking dying.
Dude, let's do the smart thing for a second.
Okay, 3 minutes. Okay, wait. What's the smart thing?
I don't know. You said you wanted to talk about it for a minute, or do you want to do 3 more
I don't
minutes?
know. This is only 3 minutes. This is hilarious. Let's watch it. Epilepsy warning.
Yeah.
Let's full screen this bad boy. That was. Hold on. Stop. Let's just pause real quick. I don't know. What did you think about that? Shit was fucking hysterical. Again, like I'm not. I mean, like obviously there are some like significant material differences between say like Biden and Trump or whatever the fuck. But like I don't know. Anyway, that's. I mean, like they're both from the ruling class. If that was the point.
Yeah, no, and I think that was something too that like taking that message alone and like what I was trying to say kind of in the middle of it where it's like sometimes I think it's good to get memey things out there to give you like an anti-establishment. It sucks to put like just that vibe because it's reckless.
Be that, you know what I'm saying? Because if you're gonna like, it's got to be more nuanced than like, oh, Paul, you know what I'm saying? Oh, I mean, like, and again, coming from an anarchist perspective, generally speaking, like it's not to advocate for like a ruling political class or like a political elite or a ruling class of any kind or anything like that. But at the same time, we don't want to paint every single politician in the same brush because the same broad stroke, because obviously that is not the case. There are tangible material differences.
No, and I've been saying this actually for a while now, where the only reason I actually prefer Democrats to Republicans in general is because I feel like you can at least hold Democrats' feet to the fire. Like
sometimes a little bit better. I mean, like it's
Republicans,
easier
to.
It's easier to perhaps. You know, generally speaking. Again, you know, yeah. Perhaps they're generally slightly more receptive.
I mean, Donald Trump wanted a photo in front of a church and he cleared people out with tear gas and fucking rubber bullets.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like Biden probably would be like, "That's gonna look bad. I'm not gonna do it." Even if it's only for that reason, that is significantly. But they at least thought about you that much,
right? The important thing is for people to not settle for like the Biden version as if that's okay.
That's
you know what I'm
the
saying?
end
Because
all be all.
again, he just authorized some massive arms sale to like who knows what, and like still supporting like, oh, Israel has a right to defend itself, blah 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 bullshit, apartheid settler colonial bullshit. Like he's still supporting all that nonsense.
We should after we do this video, let's actually get into that a little bit.
God, yeah, we got to talk about that, man. Because I mean, I don't know what is there to fucking say. It's goddamn apartheid. It's like, you know, it's not a conflict. It's an occupation. Like it's settler colonialism. Like if you disagree, go fucking educate yourself. You know what I'm saying?
I think
like,
the one thing too that I've always found really interesting about this particular conflict is that it is the same logic and brand of legal settler colonialism that the United States used in declaring everything to the west its own territory, and then we
Yep.
dealt with the indigenous populations as non-separate sovereign like nation states, like that they were something else, like they're not citizens, they're not like
yeah, not allowed to be citizens. Native Americans, folks who like Amerindians, folks of indigenous descent in the Americas, North America and the United States in particular, were not allowed to be citizens until the Collier Act in the late 1920s, early 1930s, if memory serves me right.
but it's the legal
That's
it
less than,
is
that's less than 100 years
yeah
ago.
no but it's
The
this
Native Americans were allowed to be. Were like, oh yeah, you can be citizens.
Palestinians aren't allowed to be
Citizens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
the
no,
sa-
it's
settler
the
colonialism.
same
It's the same
playbook,
shit,
yeah.
Same shit. Which apparently the British were about 100 years behind the Portuguese and the Spanish and the French as well, in terms of settling and attempting to colonize North America. And again, don't even get me started. The balance of power didn't shift in favor of European colonizers until like the mid-late 1700s. The consensus is with the 7 Years War, formerly known as the French Indian War, commonly known as that, but the 7 Years War, the outcome of that tilted in the eastern seaboard, at least, it tilted the balance of power in favor of European colonizers. Is after a couple hundred years of sustained violence, systematic genocide, and biological like diseases killed more people. Disease killed more people than anything else. An important thing to note is that one of the main contributing reasons to the United States as a country is because at the end of the 7 Years War, the British basically told the British were 100 years behind because they were busy colonizing Ireland. That's why I was saying that. Anyways, and there's a direct line there's a through line through all this stuff. And it's just different ways to justify theft and brutality and violence. But it's interesting because the United States wouldn't be a country probably if it weren't for the fact that following the 7 Years War and that outcome, the British basically told their colonists in North America on the eastern seaboard, you can't go west of the Appalachians, basically, because by doing so, you're coming into conflict with the indigenous folks, the native population. We ain't got the time and the energy, the money to fuck with that, so knock that shit off, right? And so they literally, there was a proclamation in 1763, there was a line that was drawn basically by the British along the Appalachian mountain range on the eastern seaboard of North America. It said, and they told their colonial settler their colonists, you can't go. Don't go past this line because it's going to cause problems for us. So George Washington, as a young Army officer and real estate property land speculator, among others, was secretly buying land from native folks here and there and stuff like that, and whoever, like French folks, on the other side of that line. And one of the motivating factors for, the British colonies splitting off in North America was because they wanted that Indian land, that native land. They were all like, fuck the crown. They can't tell us to not take that shit. Ba 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 ba. Anyways, I feel like that's a lesser known fact about the so-called American Revolution, right? Which was really more accurately called the American War for Independence. The real American Revolution, such as it was horrifically bloody and gnarly, but was the Civil War. That's the real American Revolution, as Eric Foner and other significant historians point out, because that was the end of race-based chattel slavery in the United States, and that was the most revolutionary moment in this country's history. So, anyways, interesting stuff. Not how it's usually framed, right?
Yeah, no, it is definitely different framing.
That's the convenience of not even the history degrees, but having to teach history.
Yeah.
And having to know what the fuck you're talking about and be able to actually respond to real serious, genuine questions day in, day out. You gotta know what the fuck you're talking about. You got to, and so it's anyways, there's a lot of stuff out there, man. None of this stuff is not publicly available, but we don't hear it, anyways. But it's a free and open society, relatively speaking. In some ways, yes, but in a lot of ways, not.
All right,
so
welcome
much.
to
Some
the
very key
Neuralink
ways,
product
not so
demo.
much. All right. Let's see what this animator has to say on Musk. Schmushky.
All right, welcome to the Neuralink product demo. I'm really excited to show you what we've got. I think it's going to blow your mind. So I want to emphasize the purpose of Neuralink. What's our goal? Our goal is to solve important spine.
The previous stuff sounded like real audio. Is this real audio?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
This is real technology coming up.
and brain problems with a seamlessly implanted device. And this is sort of what it looks like. This is our little device. I mean, frankly, to sort of simplify this, what we're, I mean, it's more complicated than this, but it's, in a lot of ways, it's kind of like a Fitbit in your skull with tiny wires. So does it actually work? And what I'm excited to show you, I call it like the Little Pigs demo. Yeah.
Little Pigs demo.
This is where it's like getting off the rails.
All right, cool. So you want the surgery to be as automated and as possible, and the installation of a link done in under an hour. So you can basically go in the morning and leave the hospital in the afternoon. And it can be done without general anesthesia.
Oh my gosh. It's like terrifyingly hilarious. This is music.
I think this is Soviet national anthem, dog.
I don't know if that's the most appropriate, but yeah. Maybe.
Let's imagine for a few moments what our life would be like if we could access, let's say, 20% of our brain's capacity.
They got Morgan Freeman sitting there. Oh, this isn't good.
Capitalist detective.
Oh, I'm dying.
Oh no.
I'm dying.
ユロの申し子になりました。プレゼンテーションにご参加いただきありがとうございます。
Scary but funny. Funny because kind of potentially. All right, let's not watch Jeffrey Epstein's Party Island.
Or do we have to?
Pause. It's good.
Get away from it.
This animator he's on a whole other he's on a trip, isn't he?
I think I was definitely right about that being the Soviet national.
Yeah, I was about to say, yep, there came the reference. Capitalist detected.
That was the
funny.
correlation, though, was that his IQ got so high
that dangerously. See, this guy he's got some nice subtext. He's got some nice subversive elements in these. I like it. Amon.
It's also just ridiculous enough to be entertaining on its own.
Yeah, this shit is fucking hysterical. Yeah, exactly. Like, it's making you laugh and like wonder at the strangeness of it while delivering some funny, funky messages. All right, what do we got? What else we got?
I'm just scrolling through here.
That shit was funny though, man. I don't know. Anyways. Weren't we gonna talk about the whole like Israeli occupation more or no?
Do you have anybody that you would say you'd want to like hear their take on it?
As a person, I mean, I don't know. There's like not anybody who we're gonna be able to really find on YouTube. Like, I don't think there's gonna be a YouTube video of like Alan Nairn like talking about. I mean, Democracy Now! Is probably the best quasi mainstream coverage that we can find. You know. I don't know. What about you? Can anybody come to mind?
I mean, because Hassan's been covering it a bunch, but like at the same time, it's like he's gonna say the same exact things. That
exactly. And so I like Democracy Now! Stuff like that because they're talking to people who are actually on the ground there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and he's just
yeah. Damn, Amy Goodman is man. Because I've been listening to Democracy Now! Since like 1998. I want to say.
Yeah.
Which is like 2 years after they went on air. So anyways.
Bombardment of Gaza has entered its 10th day as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu rejects growing international calls for a ceasefire. The Israeli bombing campaign has killed at least 222 Palestinians in Gaza, including 63 children. Over 1,500 Palestinians have been injured. 72,000 people have been displaced. The Norwegian Refugee Council has revealed 11 of the children killed in Gaza were taking part in a program to help them deal with trauma from growing up in the besieged enclave of Gaza. At least 6 residents of Gaza died in Israeli strikes overnight, including the radio journalist Youssef Abu Hussein. Another airstrike destroyed a residential home in Khan Yunis, where 40 members of the al-Astal family lived. Ahmad al-Astal described the attack.
After we returned from dawn prayer, and while it was still dark, we were surprised by a drone rocket, which was followed by an F-16 missile 10 minutes later, taking down the house, while all the surrounding houses sustained damage. This behind us reflects the humanity in them, demolishing the houses while its inhabitants are inside, people leaving their houses during the night, terrifying children and the elderly. By God, we left with our mother. We couldn't carry her, but the fear made us carry her. But in spite of all this, we will remain on our lands, and the occupation, and those who came with it, and those who support it, will eventually demise, and the people of Palestine will remain in Palestine.
In the West Bank, Israeli forces Tuesday killed at least 4 Palestinians taking part in a historic general strike to protest Israeli atrocities. Dozens were arrested. The strike united Palestinians in the West Bank, Gaza, East Jerusalem, and inside Israel. Meanwhile, in Israel, the death toll has reached 12 after 2 migrant workers from Thailand died Tuesday in a rocket fired from Gaza. Israel's bombing campaign has destroyed much of Gaza's infrastructure, from sewage systems to clean drinking water supplies. At least 50 schools have been damaged. Gaza's largest bookstore and publishing house, Samir Mansour, was completely destroyed in a bombing. Another Israeli strike destroyed a popular ice cream factory in northern Gaza. Israel also destroyed the offices of a company which used 3D printers to make tourniquets and medical devices. Meanwhile, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, UNRWA, has accused Israel of blocking humanitarian aid from entering parts of Gaza. On the diplomatic front, every member of the European Union, with the exception of Hungary, has called for an immediate ceasefire. But the Biden administration has yet to demand a ceasefire. On Tuesday, President Biden visited an electric vehicle plant in Michigan. He refused to answer a question about Israel from a reporter.
Mr. President, can I ask you a quick question on Israel before you drive away?
No, you can't. Not unless you get in front of the car as I step on it.
Holy shit. Not unless you get in front of the car as I step on it. Fuck you, you fucking... Oh, my God.
I mean, that response, though...
I'm fucking, like, just this fucking... Fuck. Just fuck that.
I hear you, and I agree with you 100%. But him saying that much kind of goes to show that this issue is evolving within our political landscape to the point where, like... For the longest time, Democrats and Republicans both would have been like, we support Israel. Like, it wouldn't even have been like, I'm dodging.
What do you think he meant by that?
I get that, but they would have just blatantly said it.
No, that's what he's saying with that, in like an insulting way, because that's my read on it.
No, because he's also it's also come out through press conferences that he's like pressuring Netanyahu to de-escalate and have a ceasefire. Like,
then fucking say it. Don't give me this fucking back. Like, well, somebody's saying it. And like, well, fucking every member state of the UN except fucking Hungary, who apparently is probably pretty much guaranteed they're withholding their condemnation because they need some shit from the U.S. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's some fucking bullshit, man. Like, that's like, oh, like, if he really gave a fuck about it, then, like, goddamn, say something about it. Because this is egregious. Like, the entire occupation, the entire Nakba has been egregious. You know what I'm saying? But, like what Israel's doing now is just, like, it's more of the same fucking bullshit, but it's like they just don't care. I think they recognize, like, through BDS and stuff like that, and just general global trends, that in apartheid states, you know, they don't sustain. They've all gone away, except, you know, for the most part. Like, I mean, thanks to popular will and fucking people fighting and dying to make that happen. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like the Israeli government, IDF, you know, like this, like current, like Netanyahu's administration, I feel like they recognize, and we have to separate them from the entire Israeli population, right? Because it's not a monolith. Not everybody in Israel, not every Israeli supports apartheid, you know. Unfortunately, anyways, it is a whole conversation.
That's complicated.
But yeah, exactly. I think they recognize. I think they potentially see the writing on the wall, and this is like them, sort of like Trump administration, sort of being like kind of like a resurgence of this white supremacist status quo that the country maintained until the mid '60s, at least, right? Like it's sort of like a resurgence before it dies away. I'm hoping. Although IDF and the occupation is not there yet, it's not like dying gasps. But I feel like it's a desperate act.
I don't know. I don't think it. I think
because if they were in a position of strength, why would they have to do this kind of shit?
Because they want them off the land. They're eradicating them.
Yeah, and they realize that this is an opportunity for them to do that for whatever reason. I
don't even think it's an opportunity. I think they've been slowly but surely doing this. They do it slow enough.
But this kind of escalation, it hasn't been. It's been more. This is a flare up compared to what the normal status quo.
I feel like this is how they've done it for for the past 15, 20 years since the IDF got super tactical about it. Is they slowly but surely hit vital infrastructure, clear people out, and
that strategy has been in place. That's been a strategy of the occupation since day one. You know what I'm saying? But it goes in there are these escalations, outright war, the 6 Day War, the Yom Kippur thing, it was 67, 68, then again in 73, and then sort of this slower sustained thing where it's and then there's these flare ups. This is a major flare up. This is what they're doing right now is not the daily status quo. That's what I mean by that. That is what I consider to be a desperate act, because again, the oppressor, the occupier, recognizes that their position is weak because it does not have it does not have legitimate support.
Yeah,
ultimately, I could obviously be way wrong on whatever, but that's my reading on it.
I don't know. I just see a regime looking at consolidating their territory,
absolutely,
and slowly but surely doing it, and it's horrifying to me because I don't have the optimism that you do.
No, it's not optimism. It's just it's not optimism or pessimism. It's just trying to look at it as wholly, as fully as possible, because the fact of the matter is, it isn't sustainable unless they just fully eradicate every fucking Palestinian.
Yeah, I think that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, but the problem is, judging by historical record, you can try, but you will inevitably fail on some level. You can't eradicate everybody. Again, it's not to say that you can't be highly successful. Look at the United States in that eradication campaign. You know what I'm saying? It's not a guarantee, but I like to hope. That's what I mean by global trends. With the digital age, we talked about this before. With the digital age, it's harder to control information, and controlling information has been the linchpin of every authoritarian regime in history.
I mean, I think the thing that's for me that's horrifying about this is that I feel like even with all that being said,
I mean, it does mean it's going to be enough in time.
Yeah, they're at a point. I remember in college in the 2010s, people who were studying anthropologists in my department who were studying in Palestine and talking about the issues, where they were already talking about there being serious numbers issues just in population, and that the IDF knew it. For there to be a viable two-state solution or anything like that, which is the only thing that America has ever proposed or put on the table, and
it wasn't America that proposed that necessarily. The U.S. has actually helped prevent that from happening.
Oh, my bad. The thing was though is that
they pay lip service to it, but they've stopped it from actually happening time and time again. You can read a lot. Chomsky talks a lot, and a bunch of others talk a lot about that. People can look it up.
No, but basically that they're at a point now where that wouldn't really be tenable, and the amount of land that
a two-state solution.
Because the amount of land in Gaza and the West Bank, also the fact that Gaza and the West Bank are separated from each other by Israeli territory.
Right. Thanks to the UN. Anyway.
Yeah. No, totally. It's at a point where they couldn't be very self-sustaining without almost entirely being supported by externally. It's not. They've taken beyond.
The two-state solution would, theoretically, it would not just be okay, the borders are what they are. It would be a returning of occupied territory.
Bro, Israel builds fucking track housing.
The settlements, I know, but that would entail the moving back of the moving out of those settlers.
I don't see
something. Well, that's see, the thing is I don't know. In my mind, a two-state solution, is not going to be viable without some sort of conceding occupied territory. 'Cause this is not legal. This is not legally part of Israel. This is literally occupied territory. And so if there's going to be a two-state solution, in my mind, it would have to, if it's going to be even semi-just, it would have to entail that, like, you know, Israel ceding occupied territory that they have no legal claim
I don't
on.
disagree with you,
You know what I'm
on
saying? I know-
principle or anything like that.
I
It's
see
just
what you're saying too,
don't
is that
see that
practically speaking, but that's unlikely because Palestine does not have, you know, is basically, it's like a stateless state. You know, they don't have an army and air force, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
No, that's the other thing too we always need to remember as
This
well.
is
That, like,
insane.
these are people, like, literally what was not mentioned in the show too is that, like, their only COVID testing facility for the Gaza Strip was destroyed in this campaign as well. Like,
I'm sure they mentioned it somewhere, but so in this clip so far.
yeah. But like it's genocide.
It's fucked up.
It's,
yeah.
it's,
Well, I mean,
there's
it's
no
systemic.
getting around it. It is genocide. They
It's
are
a form
trying
of state-sponsored genocide, absolutely.
Well, I don't think you can just call it displacement when you're forcing larger and larger groups of people that and actually murdering
Well, here's
them.
here's the thing though, is that it's not. There's different scales of it. Like, is it state-sponsored violence, like verging on in some places being genocide, like based on like ethnic cleansing and stuff like that? Like, absolutely. Is it to the degree? Is it whole scale, complete, out and out slaughter? Like, in some ways, yes, but not as bad as it has been in other places and or, you know, in relatively recent.
Totally,
memory
I
even.
hear
what I'm
you
saying?
and I agree.
But I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying.
I just don't think we need to like.
That's
measure with the Holocaust.
It's
or,
semantics.
Yeah,
that's
like,
semantics.
'cause this
at
is the
point.
issue happening right here, right now. These people are being pushed into a point where, like, it is clear that Israel is going to eventually either have them in such a small space that they're like completely irrelevant, and to get them there, they're gonna just about kill them all. Like, it's obvious what they're doing.
That's what has happened.
Encroaching
Really,
on the territory.
I mean, that's already where we're at in a lot of ways.
Like, so, like, I don't know how you don't just. I feel like the United States has to de-invest in Israel and like make a huge commitment to not like contribute to these fucking atrocities. And we should all be bitching and fucking moaning constantly about this.
Israel wouldn't exist without U.S. support. Straight up.
Like we're like
from its inception at the UN, you know, with British and U.S. support, when, you know, like 1948, the establishment of the State of Israel. People think this is like some ancient thing. No, the State of Israel is fucking 60 years old, man. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
Man, 70 years old, 72 years old, the Nakba, but 73rd anniversary, I think this year was. Yeah, without U.S. and British support, and, like, you know, and this goes back to like the I'm blanking on the name of it, but this goes back to like the Balfour Declaration and like these accords, basically, like, you know, the British and some other folks going into, you know, Palestine and the Middle East and stuff like that, and basically drawing lines on maps and parts in creating states.
Well, what's crazy
there weren't
is
some
that Palestine was actually like
imposing states, I should say. Not
and like obviously Palestine as a territory wasn't like it's weird to even call it that, but like initially after World War II, it was acknowledged as Palestine by the West and as a safe haven for Israelis, and Israelis and Muslims seem to
as people
before we decided
for
to rename.
2,000 years, Arab and Jewish folks lived in Palestine and cohabitated without a fucking issue, and then the State of Israel, like Zionists. But the thing is, you know, this is about Zionism, which is a form of like white supremacy in a way. It's this like discriminatory, like prejudicial thing that lays claim to sort of like a biblical sacred homeland in and around Jerusalem or whatever the fuck, and these fools have been put. I mean, when did Zionism start? 1870s, 1880s, something like that. And like some of the first, like, if not before, but some of the first like you know, Zionist settlements were in the 1890s, like early 1900s. If I'm
not mistaken, German Zionists actually turned in a lot of their own people under the thoughts that initially Hitler was going to help them create their own communities in Madagascar and in the Middle East. Like,
that's weird. Like what? Jewish folks turning in Jewish folks.
The final solution wasn't the initial like.
Yeah, that wasn't until the end of days.
Yeah,
or the end
so
of the
like
war.
apparently like there was like a group.
Well, halfway there.
There's like a group of people that legitimately were like collaborators under the assumption that like after the fucking African campaign went good, that they would be able to resettle in.
Dude, that's some creepy shit.
Yeah,
that's like that sounds like some rich folks. That's like
yeah, I have no
some
idea
up
how
there, too.
true any of this is or anything either. At
if
the
that's
same time,
case,
I
yeah.
also don't doubt it because Zionism
I would
kind
be
of
fully
existed in the
surprised,
same
yeah.
weird ethereal space as like Masons and fucking the
Well,
Nazis. Like these were fraternal organizations originally. Like they're not like
in a lot of ways, yes. I wouldn't call them the same thing, but maybe in the same realm, same spectrum.
I think in
perhaps.
European times at least, like you're probably like a mildly affluent
European times?
not European, like in Europe around that time. Sorry,
No worries. I'm like, which European
I didn't
times?
hit the hash pen right now.
Yeah.
No, but like I think if you were like of a certain level of affluence, you were like you participated in any number of social groups. Like these were like
like the Masons and shit like
Yeah.
that for sure. But Zionism is different though because it's got this religious element in a way that Masons and stuff don't. Those are more secular organizations. Zionism is very much a religious organization, and it's about founding a Jewish homeland in Palestine.
Yeah,
and
totally.
they've been advocating for that shit for easily 50, 60 years. Before the creation of the state of Israel. So it wasn't just something that
it didn't just
sprung
pop
out
up.
of nowhere.
Yeah, it
You
wasn't
know what I'm
like-
saying? Like everything has history. I was talking about. It's interesting. I was talking about this with the homie Jeff. The other day, and he was like, I find bathrooms interesting, and we were going into it because I felt like we got into this little back and forth because I felt like he was kind of essentializing cultures. He's like, why is it that in Japan and Korea the public restrooms are so much cleaner? In the States, everything's so fucked up. I spend a lot of time in like public buildings, and it's all dirty all the time. I'm like, well, I think that depends on like where you're at, because like I've been to Seoul. And there were some dirty ass neighborhoods where I'm pretty sure the public restrooms weren't that well maintained. And then there's, in nicer parts of the town and Seoul or whatever, like public restrooms.
The bathrooms in Newport are a little bit nicer than the bathrooms
That's what I'm
in
saying.
Costa
Bro,
Mesa
the bathrooms
than
up
they are in
here, on the top of the hill here are cleaner than they are at the bottom of the hill on the east side. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I was like, sure, there may be like some cultural differences or whatever for a variety of reasons, but ultimately I was like, yeah, but even if there are cultural differences where like East Asians are cleaner than the average like United Statesian or whatever the fuck, like even if that's the case, there's history behind it. I can guarantee you. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I mean, like sometimes cultural differences are random, but pretty much always
I feel like
it's
that's
history.
a big one to
Kind of like essentialize, right? I was just all like, I was like, I see what you're saying, but he was like, I don't. And it got down to, I was like, look, man, like people don't poop in a hole somewhere because of culture. They do it because they can't afford a fucking like indoor plumbing
Well,
system.
who says you can't do that?
You know what I'm
really
saying?
clean, too, 'cause-
Exactly. True that. And he was like, bless his heart. He was like, this is an old homie. Love the guy. But he was like, well, even in the States, he's like, there's a lot of toilets in Korea that are holes in the ground and people manage to poop in the hole. I don't know that people would manage to do that over here. And I'm just all like, in my head, I'm like, really, bro? You just gonna kind of broad stroke everybody like that? Like ever, like, and so that's why I said, I was like, so what? Americans are just like dirtier, like don't give a fuck kind of like people. He's like, some level maybe. I'm like, maybe, but that's just, I just felt like that was too generalizing for my taste. But long story short, there's always history behind shit. Oh my goodness. But yeah, fucking Zionists and fuck Biden for this bullshit. Can I ask you a question about Israel Palestine? Only if you get in front of the car and when I step on it. Like what kind of bullshit? I know he thinks he's being funny and glib and shit, but he's being an asshole. Especially he's like literally he holds like the most powerful fucking single office in the fucking country, and that's how he talks to reporters.
Maybe this is like the
fuck you,
Republic.
man.
This is us trying to like be like as edgy as the Republicans now. Biden's gonna be like an angry old man sometimes.
Oh god,
it's gonna be like a stuttery.
I mean, like, yeah, it's all gross.
Art LeBeau.
People got people power, man. I'm all about the people
During
power.
the same trip,
I got a lot more respect for Art LeBeau than this motherfucker.
Tlaib, the
for sure.
first Palestinian-American congresswoman, confronted Biden on the airport tarmac in Detroit. Tlaib has been a vocal critic of U.S. military support for Israel. Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill, Democrat Gregory Meeks, the chair of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, has backed down on his plan to push for a delay of a new $735 million in U.S. weapons sales to Israel. Israel has refused to stop its assault.
That's what I saw recently. 735. In the midst of all this bullshit, we're gonna sell them $735 million of weapons. It's just it's like hard to fathom. And it makes the stomach
contribute to it. Yeah,
it just the scale and everything like that. But it makes the stomach and the heart sick.
On Gaza, while vowing to track down and kill top Palestinian militants. Earlier today, the Israeli military confirmed it's unsuccessfully attempted in recent days to assassinate Mohammed Deif, the leader of the armed wing of Hamas. Deif has been in hiding for 2 decades. Israel killed his wife and infant son in 2014. This comes as protests.
Wonder why this motherfucker hates you enough to want to try to murder you.
He's been in hiding for 2 decades, and they killed his wife and son 7 years ago. So that was after a decade and change of him being in hiding. So I can't even, man. This shit just
The
just kills me.
geographic space that this man could have possibly existed within.
Right.
And like obviously he got like a woman pregnant and like had a kid, so like he was there.
He got married. It was his wife and son.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying like he
had a family.
It's just amazes me. Like the things that they will use to justify, like they basically made him into a boogeyman. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, I wonder if they ever even looked for him.
I'm sure I guarantee you they looked for him.
No, but you get what I'm saying.
I see what you're saying. Like it's convenient, but the thing is, nah, they don't need to let him live to have that.
No,
So
they'll just make another one.
Yeah, Hamas is their boogeyman.
Continue across the globe to condemn Israel's bombing of Gaza. In New York, demonstrators rallied outside the offices of Friends of the Israel Defense and ep5, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. 7 protesters were reportedly arrested outside the United Nations. We begin today's show in Gaza, where we're joined by Aya al-Ghazawi, a Palestinian activist based in Gaza who writes for We Are Not Numbers. Aya, welcome to Democracy Now! Can you describe what's happening on the ground now?
Thank you very much, Amy, for hosting me. Well, Gaza is witnessing another nightmare, is witnessing another massacre, a genocide committed by settler colonial Israel. So Israel is targeting everybody. Until now, Israel has killed about 219 Palestinians, including 63 children and 36 women and 16 elderly men. Israel sees Palestinians in Gaza as subhuman beings. I mean, just yesterday, Benny Gantz told the Prime Minister of Israel that nobody, no person, no neighborhood or area is immune, and that they are going on with this belligerent war aggressions against Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. Everything in Gaza is damaged, and literally, Israel is turning Gaza into a wasteland. It targets residential buildings. It targets main roads to make it difficult for ambulances to reach Palestinians injured, or places bombed, and even makes it very difficult for the injured people themselves who try to get to hospitals as soon as possible. Everything in the Gaza Strip is in a real catastrophe. We are very much afraid, and we're living in a constant anxiety and fear. Fear for ourselves and our lives, but also fear for our beloved ones. And our children are weeping, and they're asking, why is this happening? And why are they hearing heavy bombardments and massive explosions all over the Gaza Strip? Why aren't we able to sleep? We haven't been able to sleep for 10 days now. So we actually face many of difficult questions that we don't know how to explain these for our children. And while people around the world enjoy their human rights for granted, we here in the Gaza Strip have to fight. But what is happening in Gaza is not happening
Everybody always has to fight for their human rights, but I get what she's saying.
in Gaza in particular.
Yeah, I think like earlier when you were kind of saying like.
Yeah, but I'm just context. I can't not do that. Is what I'm trying to do.
But also, this is a part of an uprising that is taking.
Because the reason I say that is because it puts a singular focus on Palestinians as if they're not in within the context of the global struggle for human rights. Like obviously, Palestine is not the only place where people are being treated like this. It's one of the worst in the world right now, but it's not the only one. And so I know that's not what she meant by it, but I just
I think she's
clarify.
like she's
obviously,
like
yeah,
pretty.
Yeah, she's just it doesn't. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah, not native English speaker.
yeah.
Place all over Palestine, whether in the West Bank, in Jerusalem, the Gaza Strip, or even inside the occupied 1948 territories. What we're witnessing right now in Palestine is a historic moment of national unity, that the Palestinian people are identifying themselves as a one people, one hand, one unit, against one enemy, which is settler colonial Israel. And this is not the first time that happens, something like that happens in the Gaza Strip. It actually brings back bitter memories of, belligerent aggressions that Israeli waged against the Gaza Strip in 2008, 2012, and 2014. All those, aggressions claimed thousands of Palestinians and caused injuries to tens of thousands more. Many of them have lifelong disabilities. I myself lost my cousin in the 2008 Israeli aggression against the Gaza Strip. So we're just trying to figure this out and how to overcome this trauma that we have been living. And you know what? This is not this time only that we face such brutal conditions of life. Even if we go non-violently, as happened in the Great Return March in 2018, also we were targeted, and many of us were killed. More than 281 Palestinians were killed. Thousands were maimed by Israeli soldiers and snipers. So whatever Palestinians are doing, they are being targeted everywhere, whether they're armed or civilians or any other people. And I just can't go over the fact that, yes.
I wanted to ask you in terms of you write for We Are Not Numbers, and talk about what it feels like to see the headlines referring to Palestinians as statistics, and your analysis of how the outside media is covering or are covering the events that are occurring right now, the Israeli attacks.
Yeah, of course. Actually, we are very much disappointed by news outlets, whether by reporting us and the Palestinians killed as mere numbers and statistics, or even as portraying the struggle of Palestinian people, especially in Gaza, as two equal sides, and that they're focusing on Hamas and armed factions and groups firing rockets. But again, returning to your point, we are not numbers. And as a writer, we are not numbers. We have a great mission to do, in which we share the stories behind numbers. Because Israel does not kill only numbers. They kill our dreams. They kill our, our struggles, our memories, and everything. One of those stories, for example, is Dr. Shayma Al-Ghul, who was 21 years old only and in her third year of dental studies. And she was a bride-to-be. She was supposed to be getting married this month. And instead of her being, getting ready and trying her wedding dress, worrying about the invitation list or preparing for her final exams, she was bombed in a Al-Wahda Street massacre, in which Israel bombed the entire block without any prior warning, and 42 Palestinians were killed, including 12 women and 8 children. Many children, luckily, they were found alive and could be rescued. Another story, for example, is Susie Shkontana, who's only 6 years old. She lost her mother and her 2 brothers and her sister Dana, and now she only has her father. Another massacre happened with Abu Hatab's family in a shelter camp, one of the the most densely populated areas in the Gaza Strip. And we have only a 6-month-old baby who could survive the massacre out of 37 members of his family. What is happening actually is crazy, and Israel is going so insane in her, airstrikes, bombardments, or artillery attacks. Everybody in Gaza Strip is a target. And you know what? The problem is that we didn't initiate any of these. Like, we have 28 Palestinian families in the occupied eastern Jerusalem in Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood who face the danger of being ethnically cleansed. We're talking about 500 Palestinians there. And they called upon every Palestinian across the historic Palestine to take part in their acts of resistance. Here in Gaza, we heeded the call, and we took part in this act of resistance. And then comes Israel and decides to collectively punish Palestinians in Gaza. And when we talk about Gaza, we're talking about 360 square kilometers only, with a population of 2 million Palestinians. So wherever Israel...
360 square kilometers.
Yeah, it's the size of, I saw like some meme, somebody was circulating, like it was like a very small sliver of like downtown Chicago, and they're like that outlined in red is the equivalence of you should look up Chicago Gaza map or something. Yeah, no, it is. I mean, whole scale slaughter. I was not trying to take away from Chicago Gaza map. What are you doing?
Oh, wait. No, we had comments from, I agree, the window for two-state solution is passed. Gaza has been leveled. The West Bank has been occupied and people are not moving. A single integrated state will likely be the way forward.
Yeah.
It sucks, but, like, it does seem to be the only
What,
way.
like an Israeli state, though?
No, it needs to be better than that,
Like,
obviously.
what do you mean? What would they mean by an integrated state?
It means coming to some type of accord where, no more bloodshed, some type of voting.
So there's
rights.
so basically sort of like, but like a dual administrative, like sort of like a Palestinian Israeli like dual state. Like, how would that work?
I think at this point,
I mean, like, I guess like in it, like,
I'm pretty sure the issue and the reason that they were
Yeah.
never given statehood to begin with was that there's actually a majority of Palestinians, and with the numbers that they have in that.
well, I mean, back in the day, yeah, I don't know about now. Kind of like, before indigenous folks outnumbered folks of European descent. Hold on, it was one of these here. Maybe not. No, not that one. Maybe click on that one with the purple right there, something like that. This one. Is this what the one I was saying? Yeah, that's it. So that's the Gaza Strip, and that's Chicago. So that's what we're talking about. And so, like, the meme I saw was like, this is the equivalent size, and this part of Chicago has the equivalent population. So imagine what's going down in Gaza. That's like the relative size. It's fucking nuts, man. It's fucking genocide.
Yeah, no, for 2.2 million people to be in that amount of space too is insane, especially with the lack of resources.
Yeah, and they're everything. I mean, like hospitals, schools, the biggest bookstore and distributor, and fucking, media, the high rise that house like Al Jazeera and Associated Press offices, and as well as apartments.
No, but I think when people have,
it's just
on the left at least, have spoken about a single integrated state, it's been literally more of the like concession that, like, materially speaking, to support a state for Palestinians at this point would be like almost suicidal to a certain extent, like
just not viable.
Yeah, like it's literally.
Why? Because Israel's already taken so much. And
Yeah, like
again,
you're not gonna
Palestine's
unsettle the settlers. Like you're gonna have to fucking kill them. Like they'll stay there and fight.
Yes and no. There's ways to move them. I mean, I guarantee you that most of the settlers would cut and run if the IDF was turned around and fucking used to fucking displace them.
I think people are trying to avoid that.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's a good thing, but the thing is, IDF is obviously not going to be fucking trying to kill settlers. We're just talking about, you got to get your shit and go or go to jail. Like that's a much better option than Palestinians have been given. So I have no sympathy for fucking settlers who are on stolen land and being told to get the fuck out.
Yeah, I mean, I get on principle where you would have that stance, but I think
I'm not saying it's viable necessarily, but I'm also saying it's not impossible. And so it's a matter of public will. That's what I'm saying.
No,
no,
you're wrong.
No,
entirely.
No,
if
hold on,
I don't think you're right.
I don't think you. No, it's a matter of public will. Like global public opinion, theoretically, could fucking put the pressure on and make the fucking settlers go. Is that going to happen? Probably fucking not. But it's still possible. That's what I mean by
it could happen theoretically, dude.
Anything is possible theoretically, practically.
Nah, dude, not my theories.
Well, you got
Occam's coming up with his razors, dude. He's fucking stabbing
limited fucking. You got limited fucking imagination.
No, dude, I just don't see a regime like Netanyahu's giving two flying.
Does that have anything to do with what I said, though?
Fucks. Yes.
No, it doesn't.
Because if
Theoretically,
the levers
theoretically,
that
anything
cause
is
the
possible.
genocide, if the money that goes in that arms
That's
the
what
people
I mean.
that commit it,
Theoretically, look, bro.
don't fucking care what
just
you
listen.
think.
That has nothing to do with what the fuck I'm saying. Am I saying that they give a fuck? No, I'm not saying they give a fuck. I'm saying it depends on public will.
But then why
Hold
say
on.
it?
Theoretically, because it's a possibility. If you just stop laughing for a second and like just all I'm saying, I'm not saying it's a practical reality necessarily. I'm just saying it is theoretically possible. Theoretically just means it's a theory. How viable or practical a theory is totally aside from that. Theoretically speaking, the global population could all of a sudden go on a fucking general strike and be like, no more fucking oppression in Palestine or anywhere. Theoretically.
Okay.
Now, anything is possible. There's a lot of reasons why that may not be happening. Is that going to happen? Probably not. That's not what the fuck I'm saying. I'm just saying that's what I mean by it being dependent on public will. Public will, global public opinion is not outraged enough to stop this shit. And ultimately, that's a big part of why they get away with it.
I don't think what we think about it on a global level, like
No.
the biggest we you could ever imagine.
Global public opinion translated to a general strike could absolutely shut everything down and change things over fucking
Yeah, dude,
night.
I'm gonna come back with Occam's razor and I'm gonna stop you right there.
What is
And, like,
Occam's razor? Explain yourself. Don't
it's a big assumption. Like you're making two big asks right there, and while we're sitting here navel gazing
I'm
from our
not
safety,
saying it's gonna happen. I'm saying it's theoretically possible.
I get it, but now we've been talking about like what you think is theoretically possible instead of actually like
No, but it's a valid point though. I really don't feel like you're hearing me on this. Like, just stop, open your mind for a second, and just listen to the words that I'm saying. Is it possible? I'm not saying likely. I'm not saying it's gonna happen. Is it possible for all of a sudden global opinion to be like, you know what? We're the masses here. Y'all are doing some bullshit, whether it's in Palestine or wherever the fuck else. Y'all are doing some bullshit, and we're going to shut the shit down. We make the bombs. We make the bullets. We make the fucking tanks. We make the fucking airplanes. You know what? We're going to shut all this shit down, and you ain't going to be able to do it anymore. In some fantasy realm, is that theoretically possible?
in some fantasy realm.
Yeah, I see. This is the thing. That's what I'm asking. I don't think it's that fantastical, and therein lies the point that I'm trying to make. If you would stop and listen for a second, is think about all the different reasons why that is not the case. Why shit like this is still happening today. Why is the U.S. able to give $4 billion in aid to Israel every year? And where's the fucking public outrage? I've been pissed about it. You've been pissed about it. Palestinian people with Palestinian descent, a lot of people have been pissed about it. So, but that's what you're just like, it's a foregone conclusion. I'm saying it's not a foregone conclusion.
No, I think it is a foregone conclusion.
That's where I disagree. That's where we disagree. That's exactly what I just said. You think it's a foregone conclusion. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion. Anything is possible. Nothing is guaranteed. Anything is possible.
And while we're sitting here waiting for
Is
that
it realistic?
potentiality, there's
See, you're sitting and waiting. I'm actually like, why are you rolling your eyes like an asshole? Like,
I'm not. I think you're grandstanding like a motherfucker on a theoretical point.
Who's
while people-
grandstanding? How is this grandstanding?
I'm
I'm trying to make a valid fucking point, and you're rolling your fucking eyes on it.
because I think your point's kind of moot, dude. Like, just straight up, I could just fundamentally disagree with you on this one, bud.
How is it moot?
In my opinion, the likelihood of it happening is so...
That's not what I'm talking about, though.
But that's where I am. And,
Then
and
we're
on
talking
this
about two
issue-
different
and
things,
on-
though.
on
Then
this
we're
issue-
talking about two different
But we're
things.
not. We're talking about something we brought up earlier, and we noticed
Well,
that there was...
I'm at a loss here. I'm at a loss. Like,
chatter came-
explain. Like, why is that? Why is
The
the
reason
notion?
a
Why is the
single-
notion? Hold on a second. Why is the notion of people potentially, like theoretically, not talking about likelihood? Why is the notion of people theoretically just being like, you know, we're going to shut this shit down so that you can't do shit like this anymore on any level, in any scale, in any place? That is the only reason people doing that on a micro or a macro scale is the only reason things have ever fucking changed.
Cool. So
why is
back
that
to
a
the
moot
topic
point?
at hand. Let's do that, and we're gonna make that declaration that we're not gonna do shit like this anymore, and then we're gonna immediately turn around and displace the settlers. But that sounds like what the old guys were doing, and this is where like
whoa. You think that's not what I'm talking about, though.
We're dealing with a situation where people are very polarized and people have very cemented viewpoints, and there is a group of those people who will be eradicated soon. soon, like in our lifetimes.
If things don't change, yeah.
Yeah, and like the reason a single integrated state, in my opinion, becomes something you support is because
that's not what I'm talking about, though, necessarily.
How did we get to where you are right
because
now?
I was just making the observation, and then you went on like you were just like got like totally like really anti about it and shit like that.
Because
to me,
I'm trying to have this praxis conversation based off of
well,
this
I was
point.
making something. I was like, look, I was just saying theoretically people could shut this shit down. Not saying it's going to happen. My point being, theoretically, public opinion coming back to this single two-state solution. Theoretically, enough people could come through and there could be enough fucking outpouring of support and stuff like that for enough pressure applied for a two-state solution. Is it going to happen? Probably fucking not. But theoretically, is it possible? Yes. That potentiality is out there.
So
that was my only point.
Comes from.
And so I'm just
this is where my eye roll comes from. Is I don't care about any of that on this topic. I would rather talk about actual actionable solutions. Why does it matter right now when there's actually...
It's a side point. See, this is where you're getting all snarky with it. I'm not trying to say that's like the end all be all. I'm not grandstanding or whatever the fuck.
No, but you
I'm just trying to say
that's like kind of been generally
I didn't
acknowledged.
poo-poo anything. That's where you took it wrong. I didn't say a single integrated state is like, oh, that's never going to happen. That shouldn't happen. I said that if that is the case, it shouldn't happen without the concession of that land. Is that going to happen? I don't fucking know. My point was that if enough pressure was applied, theoretically, that could happen. Is that going to happen? Probably not. But my only point was that if enough people gave enough of a shit, it could happen.
I think
and you're just like,
I think
no,
the whole
no,
purpose of the single integrated state solution, though, was to literally allow for the free movement of Palestinian bodies and to like actually like
depending on the form of that integrated state.
Yeah.
Is it going to be an integrated apartheid state?
No. I think obviously people were trying to come to the table a little bit in that. But I do believe that a big point of that, though, is that like Israel has made it very clear, and its settlers have a mentality that they've made extremely clear. Like, they're not fucking going anywhere. They're sitting there watching bombs go off in their backyards, fucking clapping, dog.
Well, yeah. So what's your point?
Like, that's the reality that you're facing here. And public opinion.
No shit.
To the extent that, like, I feel like for my entire lifetime, anybody with 2 brain cells has been like, oh, yeah, this is bad. This is genocide. This should stop. And it's just continued to get worse and worse, and it's become more prevalent in a known about issue.
And see, I have a much more nuanced view of it than that, because it hasn't just gotten worse and worse. It's been a back and a forth and an ebb and a flow.
Is there less Palestinians, and has there been continual loss of land?
Yeah, but it's not a monolith. That's my point. And so, wait, what I'm still at a loss as to what your point is in terms of an integrated state, because I'm just voicing concerns about an integrated state, because it depending on the nature of it, there's going to be, in all likelihood, Israeli dominance still, and so it's still going to be like an uphill fight. And so I'm just saying, theoretically speaking, obviously an integrated state is probably not the best solution, but I don't know. It depends on the nature of that integrated state. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's just that like. It for a while now, for at least 10 years or so, like it has been widely acknowledged that Palestine, based off of its current geographical position and like where it's at and being split and everything, could not be self-sufficient. And due to the way that Israel surrounds it, a 2-state solution is not viable due to Israel's blatant hostility towards Palestine without it even having statehood. Like that's like the practical.
Hold on a second. That's assuming that Israel gets to dictate the terms of everything.
In a 2-state solution, they'd be 2 separate entities. Yeah. So Israel would still like it would be a landlocked state at this point. Like just about like it's not a
which is exactly why you're assuming a 2-state solution based on the current occupied territorial borders. Which comes back to my original
Israel
point.
And the United
Hold
States
on a second.
have
Let me
not
finish. Let me
given
finish.
That
Let me
ground
finish.
At all, ever.
Let me finish. That's assuming that they're in that 2-state solution, there wouldn't be some sort of concession. Which my point will only not that there would be is if it was going to be a successful 2-state solution, there'd have to be some sort of concession of occupied territory. I didn't say, like, here's what I'm saying. You're just like get all butthurt about that. Like, I'm talking in absolutes.
It's just that I feel like most analysis of this issue for at least like 10 to 15 years has acknowledged that like that is probably not on the fucking table, and we probably need to not die on that hill or they won't be here. there won't be a hill to fucking die on.
Yes and no. I'd have to say yes and no. Obviously, if it's to the point of like existential continuation, yes. But are we at that point yet? I don't know. I can't speak for fucking Palestinian people. And it's interesting that you say that like the consensus of coverage or whatever, because that has not been the consensus of coverage that I've seen. And in fact, most Palestinian voices that I've heard have been like two-state solution. We don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I mean,
and so that's what I'm saying. And so like if that's the hill that the Palestinians are going to die on, well then that's their fucking call.
I mean, I guess
talking about armchairing it.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
fair enough. But I
like
mean,
I'm trying to support the interests of fucking Palestinian people, whatever the fuck that may be, because that's the prerogative of who the fuck has the voice here, in my mind. And so like the voices that I've heard from Palestine have predominantly been calling for a two-state solution. How realistic or viable is that? I don't know, but that's what I've heard. And so that's what I'm saying. Like that's what I mean. Like you're like, well, the consensus on the left is. I'm like, well, what consensus?
I didn't say on the left. I was like,
you did say on the left in terms of like an integrated state.
I feel like for a hot minute, most academics that I was reading that were working in the area and talking to people on the ground, they were just like, we just need to stop the fucking violence. And
absolutely.
A reasonable one-state solution seemed to be what people were kind of leaning towards, and it seemed more viable. In the sense that, like, yeah, voting rights don't restrict us to confined areas necessarily.
Right. Well, ending apartheid.
Yeah,
is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Ending the like, you know what I'm saying.
And that was what the integrated state was. Like,
right. Well, and so, but here's the thing, though. So what? All the occupied territory just becomes Israeli. Everything Palestine becomes part of the Israeli state.
Yeah, I would imagine that you would keep land rights based off of fucking.
See, that's what I mean. Like, how would you do that? How would you do an integrated state like that?
Literally, whoever owns the house still owns the house.
Gee, that's a shit deal for the Palestinians, to say the least. And I mean, I get what you're saying about like, well, it's better than nothing, but like, I still don't think that's a valid argument.
It's a shit deal, but at certain points, and this is where I get kind of like, I don't know. I think pragmatically speaking, and just like looking at what you're dealing with, and looking at the war machines that are behind it, and like your public opinion argument for me in particular in regards to these two war machines is like, they don't give a fuck. They don't
didn't say that they would give a fuck. That's why I meant public. This way, you're not listening to me. Public will translated to a general strike that actually shut shit down. So it doesn't matter if they give a fuck or not. That's what I mean. Why you weren't hearing my real point.
That's not going to happen either.
Did I say it was going to happen? All I said was it's theoretically possible, and you're just sitting here rolling your eyes like a schmuck.
I'm coming from a perspective of literally such jaded cynicism about this circumstance.
I don't know. I think it's pessimism, to be honest.
It's a pretty bleak situation.
I'm not. Am I saying it's not? That has nothing to do with what I'm saying.
Don't worry, guys. The general strike will save the day. That's kind of what it sounds like you're saying.
That's not at all what I'm saying.
It
is. But that's what I mean by you're not hearing me at all. I'm saying it's theoretically possible. Did I ever say it's going to happen? Did I even say it was fucking realistic? No. Did I say hold your breath? Did I say it's going to save the day, guys? Don't worry. I didn't say any of that shit. That's your reading of it.
But why are we talking about it right now? We're talking about fucking practical
because
shit.
You got hung up on it. That's why the only reason we're still talking about it is because you got hung up on it.
I didn't get hung up on it. You're
you
the one
did
who
get hung up on
30
it
30 times, dog.
Because you're the one who keeps rolling your eyes like this and being like, meh, 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 meh.
Ridiculous.
Well, agree to fucking disagree. You're proving that has nothing to do with what I'm saying,
this is why the
dude.
left gets nothing done.
No, I think I ain't even gonna get into it, bro. I can make you feel real bad right now, but speak for yourself, my dude. Speak for yourself.
Okay.
You're the one who's sitting here going, well, I don't know, blah blah blah. I didn't say anything about like any of this. This is your fucking
just watch
reading.
another video instead of arguing.
This is the only reason we're still talking about it is because you got hung up on it, bro.
Apparently, you can't take an eye roll without having to fucking mansplain the shit out of it. Damn, dude. Am I your student now? Did I not understand your theoretical application of Marxism well
Now
enough?
you're just being a dick.
Totally, because you're riled up, and I'm being salty right back, baby. Let's go.
Now you're just being a shithead.
Yeah, totally, because I'm trying to ease the tension, my dude.
The tension that you created, my dude.
How are you expecting to end this conversation without...
I'm chilling. I've been chilling this whole motherfucking time.
Chilling in your fucking Hegelian dreamland, dude. Is it nice up there in the clouds?
Bro, you're such a fucking shithead sometimes. It kills me.
Yes.
Like, you're such a fucking asshole sometimes.
I'm going to get the last word. I have to.
Yeah,
No,
whatever makes you feel better.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
I just... Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Anyways. Hold on a second. What else? Most of Israel's will remain in occupied places, will not return to the land of late tainted 40s. And see, I'm like, yeah, like probably, but my only point is that doesn't have to be a foregone conclusion. That's my only fucking point. So,
my face can't hit my palm hard enough, Elliot.
I don't think you're hearing me, bro.
No, I am. It's just
really don't. I really don't think
I
you
feel
are.
like the conversation has moved past that, and like it has been past that for a while.
You're really not hearing me. I'm not talking about the practical reality on the ground. I'm talking about what's theoretically possible, and just asking people to expand their imaginations. Because if you expand your imagination, then your realm of possibility expands, and the realm of possibility for action expands, and therefore the realm of possibility for action expands. And so, is the likelihood of the right of return like manifesting itself like high? Absolutely not. I'm just saying anything is theoretically possible. That is totally separate from discussion about the practical, viable, on the ground options. All right. That's my only point. You're the one who's like, that's not fucking. I'm like, I'm not saying it's even going to happen. I'm just saying anything is. It's not my original notion or idea. Again, this is coming from some recent conversations I've been having, taking someone to task about the bullshit notion of the tragedy of the commons or whatever. But a political scientist who basically blew that shit out, disproved it even before it came out. Basically, yeah, she said, and we don't live. There's not a guaranteed foregone conclusion in terms of like human interaction with the public sphere and all that fun stuff. And generally speaking, nothing is guaranteed, and anything is possible theoretically. Now that's separate from the material facts on the ground. That's my only fucking point.
Yeah, I just don't find theoretical things that much fun when talking about genocide, and I think that's where me and you lost each other there.
I think you got lost, bro, because I'm not like taken away from the reality of what's on the ground at all in any way, shape, or form. I'm not saying that just wait and things will get better. It's the opposite of what I'm saying. It'd be nice to see more global solidarity and action on this issue so that we could prevent things like genocide in Palestine.
Totally, and genocide.
That's the that's my underlying fucking point.
I think the thing for me at this particular junction, and speaking on like more of a global level now, maybe transitioning this conversation somewhere else that's not here. What are the mechanisms, in your opinion, of that, and how do you actually create those mechanisms? Like starting from where we are right now, in like fragmentary nation states, a United Nations that like doesn't actually seem to be able to do much on an issue, particularly like this. Like,
you do something, you think globally, you act locally, and as H.G. Wells said, it's a quote that motivated me to be a history professor and to be in the classroom and trying to just share that information, share knowledge, learn knowledge, and share it as much as possible in my own small, minimum way. Is H.G. Wells' quote that I read in this really fantastic undergrad class I took called Genocide and the Prosecution of Human Rights Violations. Basically walked through, started in Armenia, going up through like Bosnia and Serbia, and through Rwanda and World War II, obviously, and Cambodia and everything else. Looked at every major genocide in the 20th century, and to what degree the perpetrators were held accountable afterwards. And long story short, not much. There's a great quote I read in an essay, the beginning of an essay in one of those, and one of the assigned readings for that class, H.G. Wells. He said, "History is a race between education and catastrophe." And so, as they say in organizing, there's no silver bullet, but basically that, like, educate, agitate, organize, and it's a what's the word, Sisyphean, whatever, Sisyphus in the rock up the hill.
Yeah,
it's that kind of task. It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. There's no silver bullet. There's no one way
I would use Sisyphus as your metaphor, because Sisyphus never makes it up the hill, dog.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. It may be a losing fucking task. You know what I'm saying? It may be a pointless task, but that's the nature of it. And that's like that. Like, to your question, how do we galvanize and garner more global solidarity and nonviolent direct action or whatever to stop things like genocide in Palestine and other places? Is through organizing. And through getting people to actually act upon their beliefs and not just talk about it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's literally what I did as an organizer for many years. And it's what I do as a teacher in my own way. Is just try to give people the knowledge to, act and do things themselves, help empower each other. You know what I'm saying? And by doing so, I feel empowered. because like, well, it may be a losing fight, but at least I'm doing something.
Yeah, I think I'm far more cynical than you.
I don't know that I'm any more or less cynical. I'm just like, my redemption and my own personal redemption, it comes from taking action, because then at least I know I'm doing something.
That's fair, and I don't think it's a wrong way to view that.
Because you can either, like, regardless of the situation and how cynical or optimistic or pessimistic one may be about it, what is there to do about it besides to do something? What are you going to do? Sit around and talk about it? Sit on your hands? Feel bad?
Yeah,
a lot
of that, totally.
Yeah, well,
actually.
that's how the bastards win. That's how the bastards win, is because too many of us, sit around feeling apathetic and powerless and useless.
No, I do my best to
know.
actually broach these topics and like have like awkward conversations with everybody that I.
Yeah, I'm not talking. Conversations are good, but I'm not talking about conversations. I'm talking about, which I've seen you do. I'm talking about putting your body on the line.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just have. I don't know, dude. I have
which
like
more some
and shit.
yeah,
I'm
which
never
some
probably
people
going
are
to put my
more
body
better positioned to do than others. Like,
yeah.
One of the reasons I never got arrested for civil disobedience is because I was not in a position where that was an option for me to to do that, to put myself in the hands of the carceral state.
I think though, specifically with, I mean, Students for Justice for Palestine comes to mind, and like I feel like they definitely brought a lot of awareness to that topic, and like obviously organizing and activism like does bring awareness to issues, but I think my overwhelming.
You're overwhelming what?
Yeah, no, I think I agree with you with transnational solidarity, and I think that there is like definitely a segment of like the internet letting us know things are happening, and like for instance, just watching that Amy Goodman interview with that Palestinian activist / journalist, like even 10-15 years ago, I don't know if we would have necessarily had even Democracy Now! Being able to have like that kind of coverage from something.
They were 10-15 years ago.
Okay,
Yeah.
20-30 years ago then. But
well,
like,
here's the thing: is like they
has been around longer. I guess
those outlets and those voices have always been there. Thank goodness. And like Amy Goodman at Democracy Now! And Juan Gonzalez, like they're not the first. Like they're in a long line of, Ida B. Wells and John, what's his face, the guy who did the North Star, abolitionist newspapers. This is a long, rich motherfuckers. Wait, Elijah Lovejoy, who got fucking like his whole fucking press burned down and dragged down to the street and shot to death by fucking pro-slavery motherfuckers.
Yeah,
like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this ain't no new shit. This struggle isn't new. This is an age-old global struggle against brutality, violence, abuse of power, and all that fun stuff. And there's a lot of like, you know what I'm saying? And so, like, in the context of human history, like, what's going on in Palestine is an example, is a terrible example of sort of like humanity at its worst.
Yeah, and
you know what I'm saying? But it's sad to say it's hardly unique or the first time in human history.
No, and it's not like it's the only place in the world that it's happened during the time that it's happened. You've had genocides in fucking Thailand, Malaysia, like fucking
Indonesia, East Timor.
Yeah,
which is one of the things that Amy Goodman and Alan Nairn were covering. Indonesian, U.S.-backed Indonesian genocide in East Timor when she had her skull fractured in like 1991 or 92 or whatever by Indonesian military forces.
No, I hate to be the person who's like, I think we need more effective global governance, but every once in a while, like during shit like this, like you wish that EU vote actually like translated to something impactful and meaningful to stop the situation at hand.
Yeah.
Like obviously these things can be corrupted because there is such disparities between nation states, and I don't necessarily want the locus of power to be within the nation state necessarily, like, but like, God, like it would be so convenient.
It would, yeah. Like, people need to be better at, like, I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know. My hot take is, humanity's still learning how to play nice and share. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's really what it comes down to. And like, if we can do a better job of sort of governing ourselves and taking care of each other, which I think we're capable of. I know that we're capable of. I think history shows very clearly that we're capable of that when we're given the opportunity and the resources to do so. I feel
largely instructed to do so as well.
Yeah, well, the standards of accountability, that's the instruction. That's the method of instruction, is knowing that there's going to be some consequence if you break said rule or regulation.
Oh, no, totally.
You know
I think what I was trying more to point out and highlight is that, like, usually these, like, trends of severe brutality are, like, kind of atypical and, like, come from, like, brutality. Like, chattel slavery, is it something that, like, you see throughout fucking Europe prior to it or anything like that? Like, it is its own insidious invention that, like, is like passed around, taught, and normalized, and then like the ramifications of that are just so like fucking insane and heinous.
And again, race-based chattel slavery was unique to the United States.
Yeah, riffing on that specifically. Like these things aren't like human dating back to time primordial.
Yeah,
no, these are like weird blurps where somebody with a fucked up head and enough power gets to fucking make something real, and then it's terrible for everyone for a long time. Like,
I mean, it's more than a blurb. It's something to do because I mean, I think it has to do with power and the exercise of power, and power concentrated. And so, like over the past like 5,000 years or so, with the development of like modern civilization and the concentration of like power, wealth, and resources, we've had like a, I don't know, like we've had like a reconstruction of human society and interactions and all that fun stuff, and not necessarily always for the better, you know.
No, definitely not for the better in a lot of circumstances.
Somebody forgot to put their phone on silent.
My bad. I don't even know if it's picking up. The mics are actually like.
I can hear it in my headphones a little bit.
No.
It's all good. The mics are solid. Anyways.
No, it's just it's insane to think that we have to like try to pin down a president to like make a comment about this shit, or to even say like this is bad. Like, and it really goes to show like anybody who ever really like doubts, and I don't think anybody here, that the United States has some issues with race. Like, I feel like just not even being able to be like, yeah, this is bad.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, yeah, I mean, and you know, there's a whole bunch of plays into that, the influence of AIPAC and all that fun stuff. But yeah, you know, this whole Judeo-Christian versus like the Judeo-Christian world versus like, you know, this false dichotomy of the Judeo-Christian versus like the Muslim world and all this other bullshit. But yeah, it's nonsense. But I mean, like, it's just crazy that now, like, who was it, Human Rights Watch or like Amnesty International or somebody was like, they were like, this is genocide. Like, I'm sorry, but like you said before, anybody with 2 fucking brain cells who's been looking at the situation from its inception has been like, yeah, this is fucking, this is genocide. This is apartheid occupation. Military occupation. And to call it anything other than that is to, be a liar on some level, I think.
Well, and I think that's where my fear with Israel comes in, is that, I mean, like, the IDF is very savvy, and it's paralleled definitely to the CIA, and it like is extremely resourceful in recruiting out of like universities and stuff like that, and it does its best to weigh its pros and cons. So I have
there's mandatory military service, there's compulsory military service.
That's Israel, an entire other issue, and this is where it's talking about like settlers not moving. Like, you don't think compulsory military service plays into people feeling this sense of like they get to drill the settler colonialism into you at boot camp. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like,
no, I get it. I mean, it's how do you construct an occupying force? It's the whole like process of like dehumanizing the enemy, the other, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And like you said, indoctrinating folks, which, you know, I'm sure the Israeli state really does its best to indoctrinate that settler colonial mentality into its citizenry from birth. Thankfully, it doesn't always take, because people try to do the same thing in the United States.
I mean, I'm pretty sure if it wasn't for
some other places,
groups inside of Israel that are allyship, like there is Israelis that are supportive of Palestine and that do on the grounds work to ensure vital resources, or like
trying to end apartheid. There's people within the Israeli state trying to end apartheid. Yeah, that's a necessary part of it, and it's I don't know. It says a lot. That, I mean, it's ridiculous, you know, and that like just now some major human rights organization is like, oh yeah, this is genocide. It's like, no shit, Sherlock. And then meanwhile we have Biden being like, oh well, answer that question as if I'm running you over. Like, it's ridiculous, man. I don't know, but at the same time, it's really unprecedented. The level of global attention being focused on Palestine right now in a lot of ways, I think, is unprecedented. And again, thanks to like the digital age and the internet and all that fun stuff, it helps facilitate it. But
what's crazy though is as much as it helps facilitate the narrative we're saying,
translates to change.
I do fear at times that the counter narrative from the Israeli state and the propaganda to justify said actions and to create the Hamas boogeyman is propagated by the internet and the digital age just as much. Like, I've come across
Yeah, but in terms of global, even just in this country, in terms of like popular opinion. But the thing is, globally,
I feel like it's
the opinion has long been against Israel,
yeah.
like in the Israeli occupation, I should say, right? In apartheid. In the U.S., I've seen a sea change in my life in terms of public awareness and popular opinion being supportive of Israel, as opposed to apartheid occupation bad. I feel like we're seeing that needle come this way significantly.
Yeah,
that's what I mean by it's unprecedented, at least in this country, the level of awareness and attention being paid to the Israeli occupation of Palestine. It could be wrong, but I feel like this is another one of those moments where it's on the upswing for obviously tragic reasons.
But I feel like with that being said, I feel like Israel is savvy enough, and Israel's military arm is aware of itself enough to know that okay, they're gonna push this run as much as they can, and then they're gonna cool it for a little bit, and then it'll be smaller.
That's what I mean.
Things that will only get picked up by smaller news sources for a little bit, and they'll wait another 5 or 6 years, and then they'll do it again, and
they're taking advantage of. That's exactly what the pattern has been.
Yeah,
they're taking advantage of this transitional moment in U.S. administrations. They're really staunch, overt ally. Trump is out, and Biden obviously is he may be a more silent ally, but he's obviously still an ally. He hasn't come out calling for a ceasefire when it's the obvious common sense fucking least thing you can do, and he's still approving a fucking $735 million arms deal to Israel. He could just sit there and not say anything, and he's clearly actions speak louder than words. He's still a fucking ally of the Israeli apartheid state, obviously.
Yeah, no,
so I mean, so Israel's fucking green means go, baby. Let's fuck some shit up.
What was it? Hold on. What was it? The DNC for 2000?
I was at the DNC in 2000.
Zaragoza? Was it him? Who's the mayor of LA that got
VILO? Yeah.
Oh, is Villagosa?
Villagosa. So ILLAG VIAROGOSA. Something like that. Anyway, Villagosa.
Did you ever see this at the 2012?
Nah.
Oh, dude, this floor vote, I think this says a lot.
This is a non-debatable motion requiring a 2/3 vote. All of those in favor of suspending the rules, say aye. All those opposed, say no. In the opinion of the chair, there's been a 2/3 affirmative vote to suspend the rules.
In the opinion of the chair.
Governor, would you like to make your motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This summer, I was proud to serve this party as the Platform Drafting Committee Chair. As the chair, I come before you today to discuss two important matters related to our party's national platform.
So there's a minute. So this is a motherfucker, the Platform Committee. He's the chair of the Platform Committee. The Platform Committee is the group within the Democratic National Party, right? The apparatus who debates and decides what the components of the national party platform is going to be, right?
Yeah.
As an ordained United Methodist minister, I am here to attest and affirm that our faith and belief in God is central to the American story and informs the values we've expressed in our party's platform. In addition, President Obama recognizes Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, and our party's platform should as well. Mr. Chairman, I have submitted my amendment in writing, and I believe it is being projected on the screen for the delegates to see. I move adoption of the amendment as submitted and shown to the delegates.
A motion has been made. Is there a second? Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, the matter requires a 2/3 vote in the affirmative. All those delegates in favor say aye. All those delegates opposed say no. In the opinion of the... Let me do that again. All of those delegates in favor say aye. All those delegates opposed say no.
He's going to call it in favor, isn't he?
I guess...
He's looking for direction.
Let them do what they're going to do. Rules
I'll do that one more time.
They
All
can't
those
do an
delegates in
actual
favor say
vote.
aye. All those delegates opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, 2/3 have voted in the affirmative. The motion is adopted, and the platform has been
bullshit.
amended as shown on the screen.
That's so gross. The Democratic Party in 20. This is so wild. And somebody was all like, I don't know, again, another conversation. I don't know. People talk about like religion and politics, like in other countries, and forget. This is wild.
Yeah, insanity. Like blatantly, like
Yeah. Well, I mean, that kind of abuse of power and like kind of ad hoc bullshit is totally like par for the course. Politics and this level of politics and stuff like that. That kind of abuse of power and all that kind of shit. Seeing that kind of shit happen firsthand. I've fought against that kind of shit firsthand, and it's just so blatant and egregious. It's kind of wild. Bro, we've been going for almost 2 hours.
Yeah, I think we should call
I'm
it
fucking
just a-
tired. I need some water. My throat hurts.
Yeah.
After fucking having to explain myself 80 fucking times to you. Jesus Christ.
I just didn't like what you were saying, Elliot. You were
You didn't hear what I was saying.
I did.
You didn't really hear what I was saying.
We're gonna go off fighting about
You
it.
were just reading. You were just misreading it, in my humble fucking opinion.
No.
Because what you were saying is like not at all what the fuck I meant. And like so, and again, like anyways, you were taking it like I meant like that. Like I expected that to fucking happen or something. I'm like, which is not at all what I was gonna say. What I was saying, but anyways.
No, I think my perspective at the end of the day is like, why say it if you don't think it could happen?
Why not say it? Because it's in the theoretical realm of possibility. Why not say it? Like, who fucking cares? Oh, I disagree. All right, moving on. Instead, you got all fucking butthurt about it.
I don't know.
You get mad butthurt about it.
Stares into the abyss.
Anyways, whatever.
All right. Well, good night, everybody.
Thanks
We're
for
gonna
tuning in.
have a lover's quarrel.
Speak for yourself. I'm gonna go have a smoke and a beer.
Good night, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
Ciao, ciao.